Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
For centuries, the land of Israel has been a focal point of history, religion, and identity. It is a land steeped in ancient narratives, sacred texts, and the migrations of countless peoples. Yet, one of the most controversial and least discussed topics revolves around the identity of the modern Israeli population. Who are these white Israelis that dominate the political, economic, and social landscape of the State of Israel today? How did they come to inhabit this land, and what is their historical connection to the ancient Israelites? This question is not merely one of modern geopolitics, but is deeply rooted in history, stretching across millennia of conquests, migrations, and ideological movements. The presence of a predominantly European Jewish population in a land historically associated with the Middle East and Africa raises significant historical and genetic questions. Were the original Israelites a Semitic people? How did European Jews come to identify as the inheritors of the land? And most crucially, does modern genetics, anthropology, and history support the notion that the people known today as white Israelis are the direct descendants of the ancient Israelites? The journey to uncover this story will take us through ancient biblical narratives, the exile and dispersion of the Jewish people, the rise of the Khazar kingdom, the impact of European Zionism, and the creation of the modern state of Israel. This article will explore historical, genetic, and political evidence to separate fact from fiction and uncover the origins of the people known today as white Israelis. The origins of the Israelites trace back to the ancient Near East, a region comprising modern-day Palestine, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. The earliest references to the Israelites appear in Egyptian records, notably the Merneptah stele, circa 1200 BCE, which describes a people called Israel living in Canaan. Ancient Israel was populated by Semitic-speaking peoples who shared cultural and genetic ties with surrounding civilizations, including the Canaanites, Moabites, and Edomites. These were brown-skinned Middle Eastern peoples, much like other Semitic populations of the region. Descriptions of ancient Israelites in biblical texts, as well as artistic depictions from neighboring civilizations, depict them with features consistent with other indigenous Middle Eastern peoples. The notion that the original Israelites were of European descent has no historical basis. Following the Babylonian conquest in the 6th century BCE and later the Roman destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE, the Jewish population faced mass displacement. This led to the Jewish diaspora, where Jewish communities spread across North Africa, the Middle East, Europe, and Asia. However, the dispersion was uneven. Many Jews remained in the Middle East, particularly in Persia, Yemen, and North Africa, maintaining their Semitic identity and customs. Meanwhile, Judaism as a religion saw conversions in various parts of the world. Some of the most significant conversions occurred in Europe, particularly within the Kingdom of Khazaria in the medieval period. The question then arises, are modern European Jews primarily descendants of the Israelites, or did large-scale conversions introduce a different ethnic lineage into Judaism? One of the most debated historical theories regarding the origins of European Jews is the Khazar hypothesis. According to this theory, the Khazars, a Turkic people from the Caucasus region, converted to Judaism around the 8th century CE. This conversion is well documented by medieval scholars, including the Sephardic Jewish philosopher Judah Halevi and Muslim historians such as al-Masudi. After the fall of the Khazar Empire in the 10th century, many of these Jewish converts migrated westward into Eastern Europe, particularly Poland, Lithuania, and Germany. Over time, these communities developed distinct traditions, languages such as Yiddish, and genetic traits that differentiated them from Middle Eastern Jews. This raises the question, are the Ashkenazi Jews, who make up the majority of modern Israeli Jews, truly the descendants of the ancient Israelites? The modern movement of European Jews to Palestine began in the late 19th century under Zionism, a political ideology founded by Theodor Herzl. Zionism was not originally a religious movement. It was a nationalist response to anti-Semitism in Europe. Herzl and other Zionist leaders sought to create a Jewish homeland, and Palestine was chosen despite the fact that it was already inhabited by a predominantly Arab population. During the early 20th century, waves of Jewish immigration from Europe to Palestine increased. The Balfour Declaration of 1917, issued by Britain, further facilitated Jewish settlement in the region, culminating in the establishment of Israel in 1948. However, the majority of these settlers were Ashkenazi Jews of European descent, not the indigenous Jews who had lived in the Middle East for centuries. Modern genetic studies have provided valuable insights into the origins of Ashkenazi Jews. While there is evidence of some Middle Eastern ancestry, genetic research suggests that Ashkenazi Jews have significant European and Central Asian genetic markers, supporting the argument that a large portion of their lineage comes from converted populations rather than ancient Israelites. A study published in Nature Communications 2013 by geneticist Eran Elhaik supports the Khazar hypothesis, indicating that Ashkenazi Jews have significant ancestry from the Caucasus region rather than the Levant. Other studies show mixed results, with some Ashkenazi Jews retaining small traces of Middle Eastern DNA, but still carrying substantial European genetic signatures. The establishment of Israel as a state dominated by European Jews rather than indigenous Semitic Jews has led to ongoing ethnic and political tensions. The Palestinian people, who share closer genetic ties to ancient Israelites than most Ashkenazi Jews, have faced displacement and occupation. The irony is that many Palestinians are likely more direct descendants of the original inhabitants of the land than the European settlers who claim the territory as their ancestral home. This historical reality complicates the modern geopolitical narrative, where white Israelis are often portrayed as the rightful inheritors of the land, while Palestinians are seen as foreign interlopers. In truth, history tells a more complex story, one in which European Jews, many of whom have no direct ancestral link to the ancient Israelites, became the dominant force in a region that had long been home to Middle Eastern peoples. The identity of white Israelis is rooted in a history of migration, conversion, and colonial expansion rather than an unbroken lineage from the ancient Israelites. While Judaism as a religion traces its origins to the ancient Near East, the genetic and historical evidence suggests that many modern Israelis, particularly Ashkenazi Jews, are descendants of converted European populations rather than the original inhabitants of ancient Israel. This is not to deny Jewish historical connections to the land, but it does challenge the dominant narrative that modern Israel is simply a return of the ancient Israelites. The truth is far more complex, and acknowledging it is crucial for understanding the historical and political realities of the region today.